What's up, guys? It's Keenan Joseph Compon. It's currently 3:28 p.m. Monday, November 17th, and leading up to me hitting record just now, I sort of got in my own head for a few minutes here, just sort of thinking, even though my mind races with the self-improvement stuff, sometimes I think, what exactly should I say? Will it come out exactly the way I want it to? Can someone truly get value from this? What is this going to contribute positively to the overall aesthetic I want to build here and the overall community? Like, what I put out is what I get back. So will it contribute positively to that? And I get in my own head, and something that makes it so that internal conflict that you have about anything, it doesn't matter. When I was getting up at when I first started getting up at 4:45 a.m., started taking cold showers every morning. It doesn't matter if it's that internal conflict, that sort of pit in your stomach before you flip it to cold in the shower, or when you're snoozing your alarm in the morning and you think, should I push it forward 45, 50 minutes? I'm so tired. I'll be so unproductive if I don't go back to bed since I'll be so tired all day. Or if it's even a family matter, something with family, friends, some drama that you're in your own head about, how you can cut through the comfort and the coercing that when your brain pulls you towards comfort, it tries to convince you that it's okay. And you sort of get confused to not hide behind any of the cope. Speak it out loud. Speak it out loud. Work it out verbally. And, perfect example of this is in the cold shower. Speaking that out verbally. If you've ever taken a cold shower, really, do it and actually exercise this. Like, it's almost like it just works itself out and your brain starts firing as you're speaking. And I would say, I feel anxious and I have a pit in my stomach and I feel nervous because I'm about to turn the handle to make the water cold, and the water's going to touch my skin and send signals to my brain that it's cold. And what this does, and what it does for me, is it truly makes it so you can't hide behind the implications that the decision has for your character. Because this is exactly the thing. You make the choice. When you feel the weight of your decision, you spent the night thinking, I'll start tomorrow. You spend the afternoon or evening thinking, I did it again. You fall so low. You consume self-improvement content. You feel the weight of the decisions. You feel the weight of the pain that you're having. That how you do anything is how you do everything. And that your character, your identity, is regressing into the version you don't want to be. And in that moment, when you say you're going to wake up early tomorrow morning, you understand the weight of that decision. But in the morning, when you're tired and you start coping, you tell your brain when you make the wrong decision that you don't do what you say you do, that you don't do what you say you're going to do. And on top of that, you just do what you feel like doing. You make your decisions based on how you feel. And you regress into that past identity. It leaches into your, identity, your overall identity, and thus your actions are symptoms of that, and you crumble. And speaking it out loud, even though I've been waking up it started with 4:45 a.m., I dropped it to 4 a.m., and then it settled at 4:25 a.m., where it's a nice 5 minutes to get up, do my light therapy, go over what I planned the night before, and then spend, half an hour, or like 5 minutes to set everything up, half an hour to actually do the light therapy and start getting into work. And then I sort of just take advantage of those super productive hours of my day, get a ton of work done, stack a ton of wins, set myself up for success before breakfast, right? So even though I've been doing that for such a long time, even when I wake up, I have the urge. I mean, just a few days ago, I moved the alarm forward an hour and I laid back in bed. And I thought this was so unlike me, and I was sort of tossing and turning for 3 minutes. And it was only until I knew I'd feel the true weight of it, because it wasn't processing. It was processing intellectually, but not emotionally. And I just said, I feel like staying in bed because it's more comfortable. And it's not the absurdity of saying, oh, I like comforter, or saying, oh, the water's cold. It's about feeling the implications it has to your character, feeling the weight of your decisions. And that's what a lot of you guys have to work on, is constantly feeling the weight of your decisions, because you understand and you've seen videos talking about how your external reality is a reflection of your internal state. You have to create a positive mindset, crush your limiting beliefs, stack positive beliefs, like think in abundance, right? The law of attraction, attract this stuff by constantly generating it internally. Shift your identity, kill the current version of yourself to become the new version you have to be. But you clutter it by scrolling on Reels. You clutter it by watching self-improvement content, not to actually elevate yourself, but is a form of mental masturbation where you supplant what you should be doing by consuming the content. Because you're not learning when you do this. A lot of you guys just consume it because top 10 ways to lock in, because you think you're learning, but you're not learning. Because that would imply that you had a same situation with a different result, a different action. So you're not applying it, you're just consuming. Or watching hollow motivation, right? Maybe that's why you clicked on this video. You wanted some sort of hollow motivation to externalize your focus. But what I try to do here, what I really want to do, is make content that allows you to truly feel and internalize the conflict. And every time you consume any amount of content, you should always think, how does this relate to me? Whenever I do, because I do read. I read Transurfing in 78 Days, great book. I love Think and Grow Rich, great book. A lot of this content I consume, it gets my mind racing. I think about, how does it relate to me? How does it relate to me? It gets my mind racing about my own life, as opposed to just sort of drowning out my thoughts with consuming this content. And the reason so many people don't feel the weight of their sins, and they have to constantly, you really have to constantly remind yourself throughout your day, because it almost feels like what it felt like for me when I gained over 40 pounds in the first 2 years of university, and I fell so far where I was playing video games all day. Even at when I was at my family's house, I would wait for everyone to fall asleep, and I would just binge eat like nonstop. And I was consuming, I bought Greg Doucette's cookbook. I was watching all these anabolic recipes. I was consuming a lot of this biohacky habit-based stuff, but I never applied it because I was mentally masturbating. I was consuming, and I didn't make the true internal change and have the presence throughout my day. And this is something that you may have heard before from books like Think and Grow Rich. This is something that I resonate with a lot. When I was reading Think and Grow Rich and hearing people like Earl Nightingale, and they talk about feeling things emotionally, like understanding things emotionally, not only intellectually, but emotionally, and feeling the true weight and the implications it has for your character. And it's crazy too, because I was watching Alpha M in elementary. I was watching More Plates, More Dates. I was watching all of his cologne videos and his pickup artist videos. I was there. I was on the OG bodybuilding forums. Okay, I was present, and I made zero change. Zero. And it's crazy because now that I've made the internal change, I called upon the information I had. I got the powdered peanut butter. I had raw honey. Himalayan pink salt. I just had some toast. I supplemented lunch here at my university residence because it was so oily. I supplemented it with that. Tasted great, high protein, very healthy, the raw honey. And because I made the decision emotionally, I understood the weight of it emotionally. It was downstream from the identity I adopted. And when I say to, work something out loud, that is true accountability. Because most people I see, they think they're people doing things. Oh, I'm just a person. I have to do things so I can get the stuff, so I can become the person. But in reality, you have to become the person. You have to become unrecognizable to actually change the way your brain operates. And then downstream from that, the symptom of that is that you take the actions. And then the result of that, the lagging indicator of the actions you take, is the results you get, which then reinforce your identity. If you only take actions because stress, when midterms hit or exams hit, or you have some family pressure, that's the only time you take action. The moment it leaves, that flywheel that I just outlined stops spinning. The moment you stop getting gratification of money hitting your account from your job or whatever, the moment that this external gratification leaves, the flywheel stops spinning. The only way it can eternally spin and have you improve is if it's all internal, from your identity, if it starts internally. And you feel the weight and you take true accountability. And that's really, for me, something that's helped me a lot with this. I got to I got to do some work in a bit here. So I'm just going to close it with this. One of the greatest things you can do to take true accountability is define success properly. And here is the definition of success that is correct, the one that I love. It's is constantly working towards a worthy ideal. Like you're constantly realizing it. Because people, like I don't consider someone who's jacked and has a mansion necessarily rich or necessarily successful. Because if they don't have a worthy ideal that they're looking to fulfill, this is when you see dentists or doctors. They live their whole life. You can look this up. They live their whole life. They achieve so much, and the moment they retire, their brain turns to mush in 2 years. Literally, I highly recommend looking into that. It's so fascinating because they stop progressing. They lose goals. We were meant to have goals that we're constantly realizing. And the moment that you, like when I internalized that idea of success, I stopped focusing on the what, and then I started focusing on the who. Because so long as that I am not actively pursuing a goal, I am a failure. It doesn't have to do with the external reality. That'll align over time. So long as I keep chasing new levels. But it has to be internally. And it brings that presence to it. That presence. So, yeah, I hope this video wasn't too all over the place. It was sort of just spur of the moment, what I was thinking about. Yeah, for me, it's like, I remember I would watch, Andrew Tate, David Goggins. I would watch these kind of people because, I don't know, I just really liked the vibe of it when I was in high school and early university. And I'd watch and I'd get riled up. And it's not my style, if you can't tell. It's not kind of my speaking style, my mental style. It's not perfectly aligned with them. But the reason, after a lot of reflection, I realized the reason I like these people and the reason I resonated with them so much is because it made me feel accountable. It made me feel the deep feeling of like accountability. You can ignore that sound if you can hear that. But yeah, very, very fascinating. So I hope you got some value from this video. I hope it was nice and coherent. Yeah, I've just been stacking a ton of wins. I got some more school stuff to do. And yeah, I want to diversify stuff here. Just less talking in my room or my car and actually sort of showing you stuff. I'm definitely going to record a morning routine one because that's what people ask me about the most. Because I've been getting up super early for a long time, but to other people, it's really, fascinating. And how I use light therapy to anchor the wake up. So I have a ton of energy every time I wake up. And yeah, like even the pink salt, electrolytes, the raw honey, the coffee. Yeah. So that's for this video. Instagram's in the description. Feel free to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Let's get it.